a lot of people here. Thank you so much. I want to, yesterday I had an amazing day. So as part of the national convention for the American Radio Relay League, we had an all-day workshop, and I was blessed to be with these two guys right here. You guys, everybody knows Michael, KB9 BVR, and John McAuliffe, who's he's a HF digital engineer for the American Radio Relay League in the lab. So the three of us did an all-day workshop, and I want to try to just condense as much of that into what I can here in an hour. If we go over, that's cool. If you get tired of hearing me talk, it's okay. I won't be offended if you sneak out. But really wanted to go over it because it was such a great day, and the way we did the whole thing was more, instead of me just going up here and clicking PowerPoints, frames or what have you, we just all chatted and talked. So raise your hand, talk about it or whatever. And I would really like to do that too. So at any point, raise your hand, ask the question. If you know, this is the place, I always say, like, all those people that are hiding behind a keyboard and ask me a question, tell me I'm doing it wrong. It's okay. You can right now look me in the eye and say, you're doing it wrong. So this is, yeah, we're not on YouTube anymore. So that's cool. So I had such an amazing day. Myself being, you know, the coastal guy, taking advantage of the saltwater. I don't apologize for that. That's my environment. It's amazing. I'm the luckiest guy in the world to have grown up on the beach. And then Michael in a situation where he's in Wisconsin, inland, poor conductivity soil. He was really an authority yesterday on raised radials and radial, you know, ground radials and all that stuff. And then when it got to me, I said, I just got a cheat code. It's called saltwater. So we talked about it. So today I'm asking you, as we go through this, I want to try to cram as much of it as I can in the short hour we got together, but please raise your hand, please ask questions, please give me points. If you see something that you think you want to comment on, feel free to do that. But with that said, so this is where I live at, across the street from me. If anybody's familiar with the Norfolk Harbor, a minute ago we were talking about mile marker 0, the intercoastal waterway. This is mile marker 0 from here. You head down to Florida. That poor guy didn't make it right there, though. He kind of sunk. But anyway, so I like to take advantage of that. One of the things I do with my channel, though, is people see me doing this, and I always cringe because this is the little true USDX or whatever, 5-watt handheld, tiny little radio, and I'm out there with a vertical antenna, 5 watts, and I actually made an Australian VK contact to my friend VK4KA in Brisbane. And then like the next day in the video, I get a comment from a guy. He said, just got my tech. This is going to be my radio. And I was like, no, that's not what you want to do. So I worry about that a lot. I try to inspire people and I want to, but I don't want to inspire them the wrong way. You know what I mean? It's like, my life is easy because of the location. I don't apologize for that. I get a lot of people going, yeah, it only happened because you're by saltwater. Of course. I'm not, you know, exactly. So what I want to talk about is planning, and what I really stressed yesterday is, you know, I know everyone says I'm an antenna guy, and I've got, 1, 2 antenna books, but to me that's just one of the tools for a portable outing, an activation. So what I was trying to really stress yesterday is before you get out, before you do the activation, yeah, look at the books, or you want to try an antenna or whatever, is to plan. So when you're planning, as you know, in my books with sketches and all what I've done over the years, is that, but with planning that's all from parts of the plans that I've made to get out and activate. So you're gonna go out HF portable and activate. Think about what your mission is. I know that sounds kind of corny. What's your, you know, some of us have worked in the corporate world. We got our mission statement or what have you, you know. But operating portable, it is the mission. And that mission is one of more things that are even on this list. You're going to go out and operate POTA, which is, I put it at the top because it's probably the most popular part of ham radio right now. Some it's on the air, so the emergency comms, or maybe you just got a new radio. Or maybe you bought my book and you want to try out one of those horrible antennas in it. You know what I mean? It's like, so, and that's equipment tested. Or maybe you just enjoy operating. Part of my stuff is that way. Sometimes I'll go out with, a lot of times, no camera on me. I'll just stick up a, telescopic whip or whatever, and just have fun and make contacts, casual ops. Or you want to do what I call myself and what I enjoy the most, DXing. So you think about what your mission is going to be. And what tools do you need to have to make that mission successful? To have a successful activation, pre-plan this. I'm going to tell you why I preach this, because I have made mistakes. And one of those mistakes is a $1.99 mistake that cost me a weekend. So right off the bat, we all know I love radios. You love radios. Anybody that's been a ham radio operator for more than 30 days probably has 3 radios by now. So part of your mission is, what do you want to do? You want to go out QRP with a little 5-1 radio? You want to use, you're new and you just got the G90, which everyone knows that knows me. I love that radio. I love that radio to the point of it's the best beginner's radio there is. But then sometimes you want a little bit more. And my new all-time favorite radio, the 710, which I think kind of pushes the envelope of portable radio. That's a big radio, but I go out, as you can see here, go out portable with it. So your radio selection, and we could talk about those. And if anybody here wants to say the G90's junk or the greatest radio in the world, that's what we're all about. Just raise your hand and let me know how you feel. But
I have a question.
yeah, sure.
So what is the difference for you between that Yaesu you had there and the 891? What does it give you that
The 710 and the 891.
Yeah.
Great question. They're both 100 watts. The 891 is lighter, easier to carry. So I'm taking the 891 to Australia with me in a couple months for the fact that it's lightweight. I'll take the power down to 50 watts and use where I'm going to next, battery size, and it's great. But the 710, I can't use the Ribicoff antenna with the 891 unless I throw in a tuner. The 710 has a built-in, albeit it's a 3-to-1 tuner. Plus the 710, and one of the features of that cheap little G90 is it's an SDR radio with a waterfall. So I can see the spectrum and I can see something going on the waterfall. I can move over to it. The 891, it's old school, it's just an analog screen. As a matter of fact, if you guys remember, I had an 891 about 3 years ago and I got ticked off and sold it. Van, where you at? Van, his channel is Envis Corner, Van, if you guys are into Envis, whatever. I sold it to him. Now I own another one because I should have sold it to him. He did offer to sell it back at cost, but what he paid. But I said, no, keep it, I'll get another one. But yeah. Was somebody had a question?
I said thanks.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I got a G90 as my first radio after being out of ham radio for 50 years.
Yeah.
And I had a real problem because I could not read the buttons
Yeah.
of the display, which wouldn't be a problem today now that I'm back into ham radio and experience and know what to find where.
Right.
But I had to go and ended up trading up to the
I,
710.
and that's kind of where...
I've got such a good price over across the hall. I've tried to work myself out.
It's funny you say that, though. I had that similar problem with my first FT891 was the menu system. The menu system getting in there and operating with that drove me nuts. Push, click, then down to whatever. But I understand. I mean, I guess that's the learning curve of any new radio. One of the other things, and Tim, when you asked that question, one of the reasons why I'm choosing, so I'm going to Australia in November. I'm taking 2 radios. Why 2 radios when I can just take one and turn the power down for QRP or up to 101? After going back and forth for almost 2 years, over 2 years to Poland, and having a failure of a radio while I was there, I don't want to take the chance of the trip of a lifetime for me to go and spend a week and a half in Australia, and I get there and one of my radios has something happen to it and I don't have a backup. I'm sure I'll get on social media and someone will bring me a radio, but my plan is to be prepared, and that's what I'm saying here, being prepared for it. So if you're going out, what your power source is important. If you're flying overseas, and I've done that a lot, the most battery you can have is 100 watt hours, which is why I'm now using this battery here, because it is 94 watt hours, which means that it is a 8 amp hour battery. It's the only one I could find was that Bioenno, but it pushes the curve, pushes the limits of what you can fly with and what you can get on an airplane with as carry-on and use for portable operations. So
I thought it used to be 160 watt hours.
yeah, it used to be. It's 100. Yeah, it is now. I mean, it depends on. I mean, I think some countries you can, but internationally it's 100, unless it's changed. You know, like I said, I'm not always right. You might be right, you know, but from what I've found, it's 100.
TSA rules 100.
Yeah, 100 TSA. That's what I thought.
You like the Jackery as well? You have a picture?
I have one. Yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
I did find that the Jackery that I have is the little one. It would run the G90, it would run the QRP radios, but it won't run the 100. I keyed on 100 watts, boom, and it dies. So it just doesn't have enough oomph for that. But getting back to the reason why I'm kind of talking about being prepared, planning for an activation is there's one thing in this picture. You need two of them. You definitely need coax. But there's one thing in this picture that cost me an entire weekend. So my wife and I were going to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. We were going way down, so it wasn't an option of coming back home for anything. I had these great plans for an antenna. I had the radio. I had the coax. I had everything to go. Got down there, had a couple adult beverages, so I definitely wasn't driving anymore for the day. And went out on the beach that evening, gray line. I was all excited. Built the antenna. I plugged in the coax, and then I had my little radio that was BNC. So always kind of before you leave and before you go, think about, you know, do I have everything right down to the connectors on the from the coax to the radio. So that little $1.99 piece cost me a weekend of operating on the beach. I just stayed there and I started drinking more adult beverages. So antennas, the best part. I say the last part, the most important part of everything you're planning for is antennas. And here's where I really wanted to make this, that's all good. And tell them I'm busy. And we can, you know, talk about it. But for me, my environment is operating by the sea. A lot of people, and this drives me nuts in my videos. And if you go to the comments of almost every video I ever do when I'm like working with one antenna, there's somebody in there when let's just say this right now, I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I really like this antenna. This is a vertical half wave for the 20 meter band. So I have a 49-to-1 at the bottom. I have a half wave length of wire cut, taped to the pole. I have a little tiny, I think I had it choked. I have one little counterpoise, 5% of a wavelength, so about a meter long counterpoise on it. And I can really DX in that location right there with that. Well, I'll do a video on that, and you can always find a guy on the inside saying, I've got an infant half wave, it's all I'll ever need. And I think to myself, and that's all you'll ever be. Because you gotta like, you know, hopefully if you watch my channel and you watch all the stuff, I think we all become better operators by operating with everything you can get your hands on antenna-wise. And I love experimenting with different antennas. So think about your mission, as I said earlier when you're starting, and what antennas you want to use. Does your mission mean, you know, like me, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to go do what Salty Walt does and take advantage of the saltwater amplifier and have some fun. I mean, there's a vertical, this is a Ribikoff antenna that I built. This is Oakland Beach, Rhode Island, when I was in Rhode Island. So mission-wise, what do you want to do? Are you going to the beach and have some fun? Or, you know, with that said, if you are, once again, be prepared. Do you have the tools? Do you have everything you need to measure the wire, cut the wire? I mean, I have forgotten the wire cutter before, but you know what? You can cut wire. It's not good, you know, but you know, have all your tools, have everything. Make sure before you go that you're packed and ready. So, a lot of people, I appreciate it that you watch my channel and you enjoy watching me cut wires and build wire antennas. But like I said, I like all antennas, and there's nothing wrong with if the right antenna for you is a, you know, Amazon bought telescopic whip antenna for that situation. That's cool too. Play with as many of them as you can get your hands on, or get one and take it with you on a vacation. If it's a cheap one, so be it. You know what I mean? Find that antenna, play with that antenna, and experiment with different stuff. Right now, if you guys are watching my channel, it's something I've really, it's traveling with me. So we're talking about my mission. My mission is to go to Australia for a week and a half, activate on the beach, and but also I'm going to be I'm doing some POTA, something I'll do a whole lot of while I'm there. And so for my mission, I've chosen this. This is the Res Scout system. I'm going to use, and this thing, there's a spike here. This thing's down about 18 inches in the sand. It's got the little puck, you know, whatever. All that is a feed point. I've got a res choke. I only use a couple counterpoints when I'm at the beach. It's all I need to do. And this is a screw-on 4-to-1. With that, I can do the Ribikoff. I can do the 20.5, or what I call the 20.5, the 17.5. So for my mission to go to Australia, this is going to be the heart of it that I'm going to put in my suitcase, because I'm really worried that that spike might be considered a weapon or something. And so I'm going to put it in there and then maybe wrap a note around it. This is amateur radio equipment or what have you. So that's my plan. But yeah. But there's something I've fallen in love with hex beams. I've got a buddy hex right now that you haven't seen on video yet, and this is another thing. So being away from the ocean or the saltwater, if you're, let's just say you live in Kansas or something, other types of antennas to play with and have fun with. This is what is called the POTA beam. This is just a 10-meter beam, that a hex beam that I've played around with on a channel and have some fun with it. But that's what I'm trying to get to here is there's so many different forms of antennas that you can use for whatever you want to do and wherever you're at. I will tell you something that doesn't have to be, as a matter of fact, the last video I did, I get so much heat for how much that res system costs or whatever. I did a video talking about you can do it on the cheap. The last Sunday I went out on the beach and did some amazing DXing with an antenna that cost no more than, I think total it was like $80. The $59 whip was the most expensive part of it. I took a CV radio mirror mount and an old piece of metal I had and made the antenna. But I will tell you, if you guys, any of you guys seen the little red slug antenna, the one with the red on it, that's what this was. I'll tell you a funny story. The first video I did on the red slug, I bought it on AliExpress for $19.99. I went and did the video. The next day, which was a Sunday morning, I had it edited. I posted it at 9:30 in the morning, and I knew that I didn't get a commission or anything, but I knew everybody had asked me for a link to this antenna. So I put a link to that $19.99 antenna. This was 9:30 in the morning. About 1:30 in the afternoon, I had about 6,000 views. I said, oh wow, let me go see if they sold out there. So I clicked on the link, and my $19.99 antenna was now $79.99. So I'm sorry to anybody that's paid more than $19.99 for this antenna. But so what I'm getting at is an antenna doesn't have to be expensive though. If you find something cheap, try it. You know, it's like I like to do the same, and that was the whole reason why I played with that antenna. But also at $19.99, that piece of plastic with an SO239 in it does not compare to the expensive Scout that I have, but it does the same thing. It's the same purpose for an antenna. As you continue to experiment with antennas, you probably will become like me. This is just 3 of my 7 DX Commander poles I've accumulated now. But that accumulation is because playing with wires, playing with antennas. My second book out now is what I call the Next Level book. On this specific day, I made a 3-element vertical Yagi antenna. I think it was for the 10-meter band. So you see my 1-to-1 Ballon which was the middle one was the driven element, and then the forward one was the director. The aft one was the aft. I'm talking shipbuilding. The back one was a reflector. So as you continue to experiment with antennas and you keep going on these missions and you keep trying different things, you'll probably end up, and I'm probably preaching to the choir because I know a lot of people probably have a lot of antenna parts in their garage or what have you. So with all that said, you've got everything now. Your mission. You're going to be in a park in Idaho, so you're using an infed half wave. You're going to throw in a tree. Are you going to be in a beach in Virginia Beach or Outer Banks? So you're going to play with a vertical. The next step after having you've tested, you didn't forget your SO239, the BNC jack, whatever. You got it all together. Now here comes the fun part. We take all these tools and what are we doing? We're looking to see what propagation is and what bands are we going to do. So a few tools, I'll go over them that I use when I'm going to go somewhere, whether it's going to be day or night, time of the year or whatever, some ideas to kind of give you what I do. Every morning I wake up at 3:45. My son runs a coffee shop. He has 2 sons and his wife works. So my wife, grandmommy, goes over there at 5 a.m. to babysit my 2 grandsons. So I get up with her, have coffee. First thing I do is I get on the comments of my YouTube channel to see how many drunk comment people would like or said anything. The next thing I do is I get on the MUF 3000 or the maximum usable frequency map and I watch it religiously. Day and night. Right now, if I pull my phone up right now, I can guarantee you my browser is on this. And by doing that, I can really see from hour to hour, day to day, week to week, month to month, and now even, I've been doing this for probably 4 or 5 years with this map. You can see what's going on. And for people that, if you've never seen this, the website, Google MUF 3000, it's the first one that'll come up, but this is the maximum usable frequency map that is live and updates, I think, every 15 minutes. What's happening here in this map is a ionoson, which is basically a radar looking at the ionosphere above it, is sending a signal up and it's waiting to see how much of that signal comes back. It's typically sending that signal from about 3 megahertz to, let's just say, 30 megahertz, the HF spectrum. If you've ever been out portable and you have, or even at home, and you have an SDR and you've seen the waterfall and you see that little line go across your SDR, that's an ionoson. And what that thing is doing, it's measuring the ionosphere. So when you see this map and you see these numbers, this is where, in this area, these ionosons are all over the world. We have one really close to where I live at in Walt Island, Virginia, but you see right here on the East Coast at 15. That means the maximum usable frequency right there is 15 where I live at, 15 megahertz. That means that 20 meters is open, I mean, like 14, whatever, is open. But what has happened is, as that signal goes up and you see it on your screen, it comes back down, but it's being sent, and that's why you see the line going all the way across your spectrum. It's being sent at all those frequencies at one time. So if the D layer of the ionosphere is absorbing, let's just say at here, at 15, so 16 through 30 is going through it and not being refracted back down. At 15, the 15 comes back and the ionoson's reading 15 megahertz. So what that is happening at research institutions, national, atmospheric places around the world is you can, with the data that's all put together in this website, the MUF 3000 site, you can look at the map of the world in real time and you can see what the bands, what's going on. And is this 100% accurate? No, but it's pretty darn close. I've followed it for so long. So I know, like right now, if I want to talk, like this morning, the sun's already come down and I'm here on Virginia Beach. 20 meters is open to me. Oh wow, I think I can go to the beach now and make my contact to VK land on the Southern Cross net. When you look over here at Australia, VK land, the MUF is 13, 11, 10. 20 meters isn't open anymore there. It was probably open earlier, but as it went over, it's not there. So 20 meters is not the band for me. What am I gonna do? Well, probably at this point, if anyone's heard me call CQ POTA, that means that 20 meters was dead and I had no other option but to work local, whatever. So my mission that day was to work DX, but I could see before I even got there, it's not happening today. But that doesn't always, like anything else, if you know the weatherman says it's going to rain and it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't happen. This is a prediction from using science to predict. But what I do is I watch this hour after hour, and I've been watching it. I've got copies after copies. I watch it. As seasons go by, you can kind of, by doing this, learn bands and what's going on. Everyone knows, at least unless you've gotten an opening here or there, throughout the summer in the heat, the 10-meter band is a nightmare. And if you watch this and watch the maximum usable frequency over time, you can kind of learn the characteristics of bands, what's going on, propagation, what's happening, and it gives you a real understanding of, okay, you know, not just from going out and doing it, but okay, if I'm trying to work DX, I know, like right now, if my muff was up here, was like 20 or 21, I would know that 15 meters is open in Europe right here. See, Southern Europe, 24, 23, so I know 21 megahertz would work. Unfortunately, I'm at 15. But later in the day, you see, if I see it coming across, eventually, as the sun goes, 15 is probably going to open. So on this day in particular, I would probably sit around and have a second cup of coffee and go out a little bit later and try to work 15 meters to Europe instead of my regular morning 20-meter job. So that's kind of a tool. How many people, does anyone else kind of pay attention to the muff map? Or I tell you, it is such a great tool. It really is. It's something that I live by. We've all seen this, if you've ever gotten on QRZ. It's right over that article that says no YouTube and allowed or something. That's right there. I don't know why they would have that, but anyway. So this is kind of okay. This is okay for understanding the sun and what's going on. To me, this part right here is worthless because that's one part of the world. As I showed you, the muff is different all over the world. I don't know how they could take an entire nation or country, the United States, and put HF conditions up for that one place. It's kind of hard to predict the entire thing. I believe that all the factors that go into the bottom part of this is from Boulder, Colorado, I believe it's yeah. So another tool that I find extremely great, and I love this, is from a Canadian amateur, Victor Echo 3 Echo Norway, or November. Someone can tell me I'm wrong again. Anyway, so solarham.com, and I checked this. Matter of fact, this was yesterday morning, I think, 21st. I get up every morning and look at this as well because this is a good predicting, that would predict out into the the next 3 days from what's going on solar with the sun and the ionosphere. And one of the valuable tools on this is you can go to it and look at the KP for the upcoming 3 days. So this is today. I did it yesterday. So yesterday was telling me what the next 3 days are going to be like. Right now I consider this okay. At any time of the day I would go out. Yeah, it's probably the noise level right around in here on the bands are probably going to be high, maybe like an S6, X7 noise level, but maybe still workable. But this is a really good tool, the 3-day geomagnetic forecast on solarham.com. So two things I'm just trying to say here is the two things I use most are the Muff 3000 map and the SolarHam. He uses data from, this is from NOAA, from a bunch of different places, but to know the geomagnetic forecast for the next 3 days. So getting back to antennas and working with antennas. My mission when I go out, like I said, I'm a DXer. I do a little POTA. I love POTA. I think POTA is one of the greatest things that's ever happened to ham radio in the last 10, 15 years. I love it, but it's really not my passion. My passion is DXing. Sometimes in a contest, I'm not a contester. I'd much rather work an exotic DX station on a Tuesday morning when no one's on the bands. That to me is a thrill. But knowing what I know, and with the vertical antenna in my situation, my saltwater, the whole idea for me is to get an antenna that is, the takeoff angle on it is somewhere at least 15 degrees, the takeoff angle, or better. 15 degrees doesn't mean that the vertical is only radiating at 15 degrees. I mean, it's still putting radiation out, radiating in more than 15 degrees. But so my mission, so a lot of the antennas you see me, building and using on the beach, verticals, the whole idea for me is to get something that I can get the takeoff angle down on the beach so I could get my signal at a low angle skipping around the world. In book 2, another thing that I'm trying to do is not just to get the angle down, but something else I want to do is to take the RF that I have and move it in a certain direction. Beam forming is what it's called. This is everyone asked me in the second book, what's the antenna I should start with? What's the first antenna I should build? And I say it's the easiest antenna in the book. It's the half square, and I build it for 20 meters. And it's an easy antenna to build, as you can see. It's just 2 poles. These are 10-meter DX commander poles. And I got a 1-to-1 balun taped up here, coax going to the feed line. So this is a quarter wire, we'll just say 5 meters of wire to the balun. And then this is one 30-meter long piece of wire, but it's 20 meters across and 10 meters down. So you have two 10-meter vertical sections. And this just acts in this form as a co-phaser. And so basically what you're doing is co-phasing 2 quarter wave verticals, and you have a feed point impedance of 50 or somewhere close to it at the top. With this antenna, it's broadsided. So at no point can we increase the RF. The RF is the RF. Whatever's getting sent to it, there's loss and whatever. But when you hear about gain, you're not gaining power. You're gaining more power in a certain direction. So with this, it becomes this is the simplest form in the beginning of beam forming an antenna is the half square. And with this, you're broadsided. So as you can see, that this is the pole, the wire going across. I'm broadsided. The first time I built this, or when I built this very antenna in this picture, this is a park near me, so I'm not on Saltwater. I am aimed at Australia. I don't know why, I just have a love for getting to Australia on HF, and I think it's literally the other side of the world. But I'm talking to some VKs in VK6 in Western Australia, and I heard a South African in there, a ZS. So I said, let me give him a try, and I called him, he came back to me. And I asked him, I'm like, are you long path? And I get this question a lot too, how do you know he's long path? Well, for me, to talk to South Africa means that this should be turned more north in a different direction. But in that direction, at that time of day, in the middle of the day, he was beaming to Australia and I was beaming to Australia. So when he was talking to the Aussies and I could hear him, kind of not perfectly, but off the side of that, he was coming all the way back around to me. So by beam forming, not only am I increasing the power that way, I'm also opening my ears that way. I could hear him, he could hear me. And this was a fun antenna to build. So if you have my second book, the Next Level book, and you're trying to think of which one do I want to build first, think about this antenna, especially in the fall when 10 starts opening up. You can build it with smaller poles and have some fun with it. But the half square, so that's beam forming, and we talked about that a little bit yesterday, but that's kind of a fun antenna to build. And if your mission is DXing like mine is a lot, it's something to think about and an easy start, the gateway to it. Later on, now this is a 10-meter antenna. It's the same antenna almost. So what I did, this is a bobtail curtain, and I went to the beach, and I'm looking right here. I'm looking at Europe straight across. So once again, you saw that broadside pattern that with the half square. This is basically a half square. So I'm feeding it. It's hard to see, but there's the coax going up, and I'm going straight to the balun. I have a quarter wave length of wire here off of one wire, and then this is, once again, this is the half square, just like you said, but then I put another half on the other side. So I'm basically looking at 3 quarter wave lines, and it is broadsided, and the gain for this increased even more. I made this smaller. This is for 10 meters, and I was booming into Europe all afternoon long on the 10-meter band with that antenna. So that was a fun one to build as well.
Well,
Yeah.
please, if that alongside the shore as it's oriented, will that effectively increase your gain directionally?
Yes. Yes, effectively. And that's a different effect. You know, when I put the radials down on the ground and try to get into wet water, that's the whole reflective, the RF ground. With an antenna like that being near the water, ground affects an antenna no matter what, even if it's not the thing, right? So as you get closer to salt water, it's almost like it's drawing it to it. So when I'm by the water there, it's bringing that takeoff angle down even lower, and I'm getting it more of a boost, you know, gain-wise off of that. But the same thing, the back of it is because I'm bidirectional. I remember that day when I was out there, I could hear South America. I think somewhere in South America, so it would have been on the backside of me. It might have been like Colombia or whatever. And they were really, really strong. But the problem I had was I was in the path of a bunch of French operators, like so F4s or whatever, and they were just killing me coming back the other way. I could not make contact to them because of that bidirectional gain. And that's kind of why some people would rather use like a Yagi where you're kind of nulled out in the back and you get all your stuff in the direction. But that's an easier one to build. So with that said, many antennas. I know if you don't like building antennas, go hunt around. I mean, like I said, the POTA beam, I like that. I have a little 6 meter, 10 meter boxing, 6 meter 2-element. It's called the Mama beam. I love that. The bane of my existence and the antenna that drives me absolutely crazy, the Mag-Loop. It works. God bless you if you know how to use it. It's
Hey, Walt, I got a question
yeah,
for you.
yeah.
So when you are using any type of antenna on the beach, does that takeoff angle, any style of antenna, does the takeoff angle tend to go down even on a horizontal? Or
Yeah,
anything?
it will, even on the horizontal. Because think about, that's a great question. Think about even a dipole. When you have a dipole and you're kind of close to the ground, and we've got Van back here, the Envis guy, the closer you get to the ground, that makes you're going up. But as you raise that thing, you raise that dipole off the ground, you know, the RF donut starts flattening out. But when you're by really, really good ground and you're raising the donut, the top end of the donut still wants to, like almost like a magnet, it wants to stay to that better ground. And that's what the saltwater is kind of doing, even on a horizontal. So with that said, I work a lot of Australia from the East Coast, which shouldn't happen, and people don't understand that. I tell everybody, the secret to me though is where I operate in Virginia Beach, the North Shore of Virginia Beach, there's a cape there, it's called Cape Henry, and it loops around. And where I get on the beach, if you watch my videos, I'll go, there's the Chesapeake Bay and there's the Atlantic Ocean. I'm on the beach and the saltwater is due west for me. And for me to get to Perth is 284. So that's actually west northwest almost. It's farther, but 280 is due west. I'm even more. So what happens? I've done the math. I'm a CAD guy. I don't know if anybody has ever used AutoCAD. I've actually built a perfectly symmetrical round earth to scale inside of AutoCAD, and then I scaled the ionosphere off of it and did the angles just to have fun playing around. And at a 15-degree angle, when I'm talking to Perth, Australia, my signal from Virginia Beach hits the ionosphere somewhere past the midpoint of the United States. It doesn't come back down to Earth again until it's in the Pacific Ocean, and then hops across the Pacific Ocean till it gets right in front of, close to Indonesia, and then hops off again and lands right into the Western Australia. That's why if you watch my videos a lot of times, I've got like 5.9 perfect, I'm hearing VK6 or whatever. It's because I can sit where I'm at because I understand propagation. I understand what's going on with the ionosphere. I looked at the muff map. I saw that they're in the 15 or plus. I'm there. I know that day I can go out on the beach with a takeoff angle of 15 degrees or less and I can skip my signal all the way around, and that's how I do it. And I know it is a lot of help from Saltwater that's helping me do it, but the planning, just like I said, plan for the radio, plan for the coax, the connector. I plan for the antenna, and planning the antenna out and the environment. You know, I could probably do the same thing if I was like my friend Bobby, W6IWN. He uses a 3-element beam, and he lives, you know, in the Rockies. So I'd do the same thing if I was him. I'd point in that direction with the beam, and that would be his tool for that. Yeah.
So this is interesting because when you talk about saltwater amplifier, it always sounded like you were going out to the ocean, but you're actually going the
Away
opposite
from it.
direction, of course.
But I'm still using the ocean. So where I live in Virginia Beach, if you look at a map of Virginia, the Virginia Beach coastline is on the Atlantic here. But when you get to the Chesapeake Bay, it's called Cape Henry. It's a cape, and it comes down and comes back down. So where I get on the beach, I'm inside of that cape. That's why everybody goes, that's not an ocean, that's a lake, because it's nice and smooth. And also my takeoff angle is to the west from there. So that's kind of, I'm still using what we'll call the saltwater amplifier, but I have an amazing conductivity underneath me, but the strong part of that conductivity is to the west. So that, we'll call it a donut of RF. It's really strong because it's there, but it's still got a lump, you know, over towards the south, the salt water, and that lump is going almost due west.
You're getting Europe as well on the backside?
Yeah, I get Europe really well, even with that. My problem, that's a great question. My problem I have, if you ever hear me, 5 minutes? Okay. That ain't happening. Anyway. My problem when I'm on the beach, where I'm at, that a lot of the guys, there's guys, I know Stan, Kilo 5 Echo is over here in Pensacola. He can't hear them, and he's beaming. We're both talking to Australia. One of the phenomenons of salt water is I can probably hear and receive better than I can transmit. So a lot of times I'm on let's just say a Saturday morning. It's busy. You know, everyone's up and on, especially in Europe. It's midday over there. I'm on the 20-meter band, especially like a contest weekend or something in Europe, and I'm on 14.238 trying to, you know, talk to my friends in Australia, and everyone's talking to them, and I can hardly get through to him, or I have so much QRM because I'm hearing so well off the back. I can hear Europe, and no one else can. I'll even say, if you watch my videos sometimes, like, man, there's a Russian guy on 14.240. I do the video I got up right now. I said that to the guys. Like, we had over the horizon radar, and I had a guy, you know, I'm on 14.238, he's on 14.240, and I could hear him well. No one else could hear him because of the salt water. Yes, sir.
What modes do you typically operate?
I'm typically just voice, just SSB. I mean, I'm not a hater of the other ones. It's great or whatever. I love it. As you can see, I like to talk and stuff. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
When you're sitting on the beach in Australia, with or without your adult beverage,
Yeah.
what countries are on your bucket list to work from
I'll
there?
come home the other way.
Okay.
I want to. So 9:30.
Send me an email, I'll work you.
Okay, 9:30 p.m. So I'm going to be right here. I'm right here. 9:30 p.m. will be 7:30 a.m. The time I'm normally here. I'm getting out on the beach at 9:30 p.m. by the water, looking due east, and I'm going to try really, really hard. I hope with a spot or whatever I can do it, and people will get me. And that's one of my plans. Of course, yeah. There's all of these little tiny islands out here. I'd love to get in a log as well. But that's why I'm taking 2 radios as well. I want to do some. I love QRP, so I'm gonna try to do some QRP work, you know, there in the South Pacific. Maybe get somebody, and then do the other, you know, as well. Yes, sir.
Does it matter what your counterpoise is? It doesn't need to be touching the water or in wet sand? Or just
I usually just get into wet sand, and a lot of people go like, "Hey, Walt, I got a fishing anchor, and I got off the side of the boat and dropped it down in the water." And that's not doing the whole idea of salt water and being there is the surface. It's like I like to, if you think about it, a quarter wave vertical, even take the salt water out of it, just the ground itself. you put all these counterpoise down, what you're trying to do is create the other side of an antenna, or I like to say, turn the ground into a mirror that's mirroring the other quarter wave that's creating a dipole. So what I'm doing when I'm in the wet sand next to salt water is I got a super good mirror, you know what I mean, that's making a strong return on the other side of that antenna.
Do you still put out multiple runs or just one?
Sometimes, it depends. In the winter I will, just to try to do it. Right now, I get out there at 6:30, there's 2 people on the beach. By 8:30, there's 202 people on the beach. I can't, it's hard to manage it, so I just usually put 1 or 2 down. Anybody want?
There seems to be a debate on the radio. Some are saying just lay them on the ground. Others say raise them as much as they can feed off the ground. What, have you heard of that?
Yeah, and it's true. It's true for, like yesterday, Michael Martin's, he's all about raised radials, and I understand why. He has very, very poor ground conductivity, bad. So for him, as I was just saying, the other half of is the mirror. When you come up off the ground and you tune it, you have to tune it. I don't have to tune anything because I have such a great conductivity below me. But when you tune it becomes the return on the other side of the antenna. Think of a dipole. All raised radial is basically creating an L dipole. You got to return with more on the bottom. I don't know if you remember when we were kids, you'd go to Radio Shack. If you were or you look at the catalog, the quarter wave vertical for CB, they were all the same size. It had one driven element, and they had like 3 or 4 below it. That was just raised radials. Is all they are. Yes, sir.
Well, there's an article, maybe you've seen it. I think there might be a copy of it in the handbook. It's written by a guy named Rudy Severance.
Yeah, Rudy
it's
Severance.
An old article, but he compares the performance of a vertical from one radial through 64 radials. The difference in the efficiency of the antenna is almost 7 dB. You get almost the same efficiency for 32 radios on the ground or 4 radios elevated, which is about 0.8 of a dB below best efficiency. I mean, it's almost negligent. It's like 0.2 of an SU.
Rudy Severance, he's written most of the section of the ARRL antenna book on radials and ground radials. He's amazing. If any of you guys watch Callum McCormick, the ex-commander, and he does videos on radials, he quotes the teachings of Rudy Severance. And also one of the things, we talked about this yesterday with John McAuliffe. He's the lab guy there at ARRL. They've done research to find that more smaller radials are better than less long radials, because let's just say you have a 5 meter long vertical. Let's just say it's a quarter for 20 and it's 5 meters long, but you have a 10 meter long radial on the ground. Well, really, after you get past the 5 meter point on the return, now you're making the whole antenna out of balance, or out of, the theory was that the longer radials are not as good as many short radials. The more you can get inside of that same 5 meter circle below you, the better. So that was it. So thank you. We talked about Rudy yesterday. That's good. Yes, sir.
Does that make it operate like an off-center fed? Do you have the longer radial?
I'll tell you, that's a good question. I don't know, and I'll tell you why I don't know. That res system I have, when I get away from water, it came with 10 meter long counterpoise wires, and they work okay at the beach. I went up on the park and put them down, and my SWR was crazy. I couldn't get it with the long. I tried 2, because I'm thinking I've got 20 meters of wire on the ground. I had the 2, and I just couldn't get them to tune. And it made sense, and I learned this yesterday. It made sense because when I unplugged those and I put 4 5 meter long counterpoise on the ground, it was 1-to-1. You know what I mean? So that's what was doing it. My counterpoise being longer than the driven element was just wreaking havoc on the balance at the feed point of getting to that match. Yes.
And the other thing to remember, if you're running off center fed dipole, the maximum current on that dipole is still at the halfway point. So it's up in the air.
Right.
On a vertical, it's right at the base.
Right. 100%. So so that's good, great questions. Thank you. So that's the whole idea of what I do when I'm DXing. So, and last but not least, a lot of people ask me this question, so I'll tell you right now. People go, well, how do you log when you're out there? When the camera's rolling on me, I don't log. I got it on film. I get home and I get on my computer and I run the film and I can see, okay, the film started at 13:26. Okay, 13:26 run. 13:27. There was whatever, and I type in a signal report. So that's how I log. But if you're not a YouTuber and you don't have a camera on you all the time, my way of logging, and what I really love to log when I'm out by myself and whatever, I just pencil and paper. I write it all down in a notebook. Matter of fact, I've got some in here, just put them in, and then I get home and log them that way. There's a lot of people that like to use a pad, QRZ. I would say probably the best decision anyone could make is to go ahead and get everything set up on Logbook of the World, especially if you're chasing awards. Logbook on the World's the way to go, because you can move your QRZ into it any way you logged, and there's a lot of different ways that it's been followed. You can do that. But there you go, guys. Thanks. I did make almost 5 minutes. Thank you. November.